Hey everyone, Tony here. Am I recording? Yes, I am. Tony here presenting one of today's top gainers, Sprint. Less than an hour ago, it was announced that it was approved, the merger between T-Mobile and Sprint, and that's going to be a huge, it should be a huge competitive. I'm not sure what you would call it. I guess it would just be competition for both not T-Mobile, Verizon and AT&T. So this was originally announced 2 years ago. The proposal for the merger and all this stuff that was brought up, and it was under review, and so we had 2 years to get into this trade. Not going to get into the fundamentals of why or the 5G or this, but just technically showing you that there were spots for you to buy in if you were bullish on this stock. So looking at the monthly, we can do a couple of things. We can draw some trend lines. So the most obvious trend line is right here. We're testing. Let me draw it. So we have this test here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have support, breaks through the support, becomes resistance. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tests. Finally breaks through here, becomes support, breaks through again. So historically, that's a pretty powerful horizontal level there. There obviously are others. I guess you can count. No, that's not too good. We can do. I will leave it there because we don't have that much data on a monthly. You could draw a couple things like, let's try to draw the array from here to here. And you can see, actually, this is actually a very interesting level here, which makes a lot of sense, huh? Now that you see these two peaks, there's no real support at the bottom end here, so I wouldn't draw that. I guess if you wanted to just draw, we could do this peak here to there. It broke through, so that's where you would have gone in bearish on it. But here's one of the more critical ones. If we draw the Fibonacci off of this swing low to this swing high, you can see at the point where most people would want to buy in is right here between this section here. So that right there, statistically, it's a good point for most traders to actually get in on a trade if they're bullish. Institutions would use this range as a buyback zone, I guess you could call it. So sure enough, we hit it here. Price bounced off, came back down, never actually came back until we just broke that horizontal, which coincidentally goes in with that 61.8, which also is not coincidence. All these, at the end of the day, Fibonacci's are just support and resistance levels, so it just adds confluence to that particular level. So went all the way down and tested likely the midpoint of this this particular, which is a sweet spot there between the 61.8 and the 61.8 and the 78.6. I don't know if I have the 702. I can just, I guess, plug it in. I think 702 or 704, give or take. And pretty much hits it right there. So I don't think that's coincidence. And then with the news from today, you can see that obviously this month has rallied like crazy. So we can see that you had a full month and change to get into this position. You could have done it since back in March of 18. You would have gained had you bought at the 61.8, and then most likely you would have sold at that point, unless you were holding all the way down to the 78.6. In which case you would have been okay because it rallied back up from the 704. So on the RSI wasn't nothing on the RSI. I mean, this was going to be a test had it not broken up to see what was going to happen here. If it would have continued lower, then it would have been extremely bearish. But you can actually see there were some, but that's not really divergence though, because it actually matches there. So there were no real signs there. I guess stochastics would have told you that that it was, again, but overbought regions. I've said it before. Overbought and oversold don't really mean much. It's just, it gives you a good idea of peaks and little valleys here. But I guess, again, we don't have much data on the monthly, so let's go on the weekly. Good Lord, this is so crazy. So let's zoom out here. Not too much here. So on the weekly, we get some, again, we were quote unquote oversold in the last couple weeks here. Let's draw some trend lines here. So I'm going to take off this map. Well, actually, we could leave it there to just give us a good idea. You can see this, the Fibonacci that we previously drew. Everything is pretty close on the weekly. So let's draw a trend line from. Actually, you know what? Let's do it from. I'm curious to see if it goes from this. So let's see if it is able to. So this news came at a little less than an hour ago. So at 4:22 Eastern is when I saw that that the news broke. It's currently 5:10. So tomorrow is going to be indicative of what's going to happen with the sprint. Is it going to break above this trend line, which is what I would keep an eye on? Or is it going to just use that as resistance and come back down? Maybe all these, everybody that pumped this is going to dump it. There is, so an analyst had upgraded Sprint in June, I believe. Let's see if I can see this. In July of 2019, UBS upgraded from neutral to a buy from $6.50 to $10. So there's a good chance. So that would give us a price point of, let me see where $10 would be here. Right around here. So let's see how this is in 2019 that they came up with this. So July. So they're applying going from here. So let's draw a Fibonacci extension from here to here and see if we can recreate what they were dreaming. Oops. There. Extensions. So they were shooting somewhere between the 1.618 and the 200%, which is it's actually almost, yeah. So it's a very common point for most institutions to unload about the 1.618. So it makes sense that they would have at the time given that prediction there, that target. So let's take that one out. Let's bring this guy down. So if we are, so we have to see what happens here with this trend line, if it's going to be broken and then possibly see that $10 range, or if it's going to be tested and comes back down. So if it comes back down, we're going to click, we're going to draw Fibonacci from that swing high to the swing low, and we're going to see where so most likely a point where I would be looking at to buy back would be this 382 section, which is this, it should be close to the 786. If I draw this little peak here. Yeah, so I could see this coming all the way down to the 618, between the 61.8 and the 78.6, 589 and 517. But I would wait a couple of days to see what happens with that trend line. So let's see if we do a daily. Um, that's such a crazy jump. um, yeah, I would have to wait. It's only been a couple days of this uptrend, and then it finally did this massive just jump here. So we got to see what happens here. Do they dump? Are most investors going to wait until the buyout? Or what's going to happen here? I would obviously not be buying up here. So I'm not going to recommend, because I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not going to provide any kind of financial advice here on this channel. But what I can say is what I would or would not do. This, you're too late. If you wanted to buy, you would have had to buy in this below this horizontal, which happens to line up with that 61.8 of that longer term swing high, swing low. Between the 61.8 and 8.6. So this would have been the sweet spot between 5.15, give or take 5.10, and $4.26. If you were there, sweet. I would consider taking profits. If you are thinking of holding on, at the very least, set some a stop loss at the very least at the 382 here to protect yourself. You never want to be in a position where you're in profit and then it rolls back on you and then you end up losing. That's a horrible feeling. So I would do that if I actually held some positions, which I don't. I would not be buying up here at all. If I was interested in going long, I would at the very least wait until I pull back down to the 61.8. In my case, I wouldn't even look back at the 38.2 unless I don't know. But really my purpose of this particular video, because now that this merger is going to happen, most likely I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Sprint as a stock. Most likely it gets absorbed by T-Mobile. I don't know much about what's going to happen there. But it's just to show that there was an opportunity and it could have basically had somebody been long where they could have been long from. And you had 2 years to buy into this particular time. So you had from approximately January 2018 to June, so about 6 months for you to buy in at several points during that time below that horizontal and at the 61.8 or lower. It gave you some very nice profits. You could have unloaded up here, which most people would have likely unloaded from this swing high to this swing low. Give or take. No way, it's not snapping. Between the 78.6 and the 61.8, and sure enough, you had some people unloading. You had a pullback, came back, retested the area for a double top, and then rolled back down. So you could have bought in, profited, bought back in. You had from January all the way until basically yesterday or today to buy back your position or more if you were bullish, and basically take more profit here. So again, if you were long from this point or even from up here, I would highly, if it was me, I would think about taking profit, because yeah, this could shoot higher, but most likely I think most people are going to probably take their profits. So at the very least, if you bought anywhere in this section, take that 38.2 as a stop loss. And if you want to ride potential gains from this point on, you can adjust or do a trailing stop and go with it. But that was basically it. I'm not even going to go. There was some bearish divergence here, which you can see in this little section here and up here. So we had higher high in price, but a lower high in the RSI, which kind of signaled a pullback that was a good little call there, and you had it with some confirmed volume. Volume today is out of hand, but it's because of obviously today's news, um, and that's basically it. There's always an opportunity. You just gotta make sure that you wait for it, and then don't FOMO in. Don't go in at this point and just get wrecked. At this point, it's just, in my opinion, it's there's nothing to be had here. But always consult your financial advisor, and that's basically it for today. It was just I thought it was gonna be a shorter video, but I guess I went a little bit too much. So that's basically it. Please like if you can, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.